So, New Orleans and the governor of Louisiana are playing chicken. New Orleans is in a budget crisis. Over the last year and a half or so, the previous administration, although not entirely, has led the city into an outstanding amount of debt. Hundreds of millions of dollars in a budget shortfall. The city of New Orleans does not have the money to pay its employees through the end of the year. New mayor just was elected, and the city council has decided that they will figure out this budget issue. And they're working with people from the governor's office, lots of other people. So New Orleans comes up with this idea to say, hey, we need to raise money. One of the ways that we are able to raise money is through issuing bonds. Bonds will be bought by institutional investors taking on their debt, and then they're essentially cashing in short-term debt that's due today in order to pay long-term debt that will be due 20, 30 years from now. Now, we can all debate the whether that's a good idea or not, but that's their idea. Now, in order to issue these bonds, the governor's office needs to sign off on it. But the governor and the city of New Orleans have been in a contentious relationship lately. The governor has been toting around ideas of, bringing in ICE and National Guard and kind of in more or less licking boots for the president lately. So New Orleans and the governor's office have already had a little bit of a standoff so far, and now they are getting into a bigger scuffle. So they want to issue these bonds. The bonds have to be approved by the governor's office, and the governor has said, all right, I'll give you $125 million in bonds to issue, but you're going to go under a fiscal conservatorship where somebody will essentially be put in charge of your city and will manage it, and try to get you to net zero so that you're not losing money as well. And New Orleans has said, I don't know about that. This person would be able to do things like make hiring and firing decisions and fund projects or not fund projects, which is the more likely of the two. So New Orleans said, I don't know about that. What if I don't do that? So over the evening, they have actually rescinded their bond request. So now they're going to figure out a different answer. And usually, like, on its face, you would go, okay, but you're in debt, so where's your standing on this? And New Orleans' argument would be, yeah, we are in debt, but it's because we don't get to keep the money we make. We'll host the Super Bowl. We'll host Taylor Swift. We'll bring in billions of dollars through entertainment, tourism, taxes, tourists. We'll bring in all this money, and they keep a single digit, if not less, proportion of it. And the rest of it is going to fund the rest of the state, which, as most red states are, just bleeds money. So New Orleans' argument is, we don't actually need a fiscal conservatorship. What we need is to be able to keep more of the tax revenue that we generate. But that was never going to happen, right? It has to go fund all of the rural hospitals. It has to go fund all the smaller schools in much smaller districts. It has to go fund all these other smaller towns for services of which they bleed money. But it is an interesting reframing of like, oh, well, you must go under fiscal conservatorship because you don't actually understand how to manage your money. And their argument back is, no, we actually make a ton of money. We just don't get to keep it. So we'll see what the fallout of this is. It'll be interesting to watch over the next couple days. The city still has to, make that short-term budget work in some way. They're going to have to come up with a good sum of money to, at the very least, fund them over the short term, and they will need to come up with a much better long-term solution in order to fix all of this.